What is going on, guys? In life, they often say that sometimes the best moves are the ones you don't make. But on a completely different, much more negative note, sometimes it's the moves you don't make that turn out to be your biggest mistake, especially if you're an NFL GM. Here are the 10 strange but true draft tales about teams nearly taking a big-named NFL player only to let the opportunity slip through their fingers. Number 10, Johnny Manziel to the Cowboys. Johnny Football won the 2012 Heisman at Texas A&M, but scouts were divided on him. Would Manziel's style of play successfully translate over to the NFL level? And would he have any character issues? These questions caused Manziel to fall outside of the top 10. And when it was time for the Dallas Cowboys to pick in the 16th slot, Jerry Jones was extremely tempted to take Tony Romo's potential successor or replacement. Jones made it no secret that he really wanted Manziel. However, his son Steven talked him out of it. According to Sports Illustrated, the younger Jones told his pops they wouldn't take Manziel as long as Aaron Donald, Ryan Shazier, Anthony Barr, or Zach Martin were available. While Martin, the Notre Dame guard, was available at 16. So the Cowboys took the future Pro Bowler and first-team All-Pro. Obviously, that turned out just fine. But Jerry didn't hold back in voicing his disagreements and frustrations with his son. In a 2014 article of ESPN The Magazine, Jones admitted that he was still mad and was growing madder every day about missing him. That's why you listen to your son, Jerry. Manziel went to the Browns, flopped with his on-the-field play and off-the-field issues, and was out of the league within 2 years. Martin? Let's just say he has future Hall of Famer written all over him. Number 9, Russell Wilson to the Broncos. The Denver Broncos won the Peyton Manning free agency sweepstakes in 2012, but John Elway was cleverly planning for the future ahead of the draft. The Broncos wanted to find Peyton's successor in one of the earlier rounds. He was 36 years of age and had missed the entire 2011 season recovering from neck surgery. So Elway settled on a 6'7" Arizona State product, Brock Osweiler, nabbing him with the 57th overall selection. But Elway and the Broncos were also looking at the athletic Russell Wilson, ahead of Super Bowl 48 between the Broncos and Seattle Seahawks. Elway said in a 2014 interview with ESPN that they loved Wilson and even had him for a visit. Manning added that he also met Wilson ahead of the 2012 draft. However, Elway simply chose Osweiler over the Wisconsin quarterback, due in large part to the size difference. Many thought that Wilson, listed at 5'11" and 215 pounds, was too small to play in the NFL. We've heard that before. Well, Wilson got the last laugh when his Seahawks pummeled the Broncos in Super Bowl 48, and he's gone on to emerge as a perennial Pro Bowler and MVP caliber quarterback. But Osweiler proved to be a worthy investment for the Broncos as well, with Manning sidelined for a long stretch of their 2015 Super Bowl season. Osweiler filled in and won 4 of his 6 starts, and helped the Broncos lock up the top seed in the AFC. They went on to defeat the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 50. Number 8, Ben Roethlisberger to the Giants. The San Diego Chargers drafted Eli Manning with the first overall pick in 2004, but as everybody knows, he wasn't willing to suit up for the organization. He was traded to the New York Giants, in a blockbuster trade that sent Phillip Rivers, the number 4 selection, to the Chargers. But the G-Man almost came away with a different future Pro Bowler and 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback. Former Giants scout and GM Jerry Reese admitted that the team really wanted Big Ben, though they were confident that they were getting a quality QB nonetheless. The Giants essentially were fully prepared to take Roethlisberger if Manning had not gone, or possibly if he had been traded elsewhere. Giants head coach Tom Coughlin was apparently happy with getting either of the 3 quarterbacks. Obviously, the G-Men and Roethlisberger are pleased with how things transpired. Eli and Big Ben each guided their clubs to a pair of Super Bowl titles, but who knows how both men's careers would have panned out if they didn't end up with their respective teams. Number 7, LaDainian Tomlinson to the Patriots. The New England Patriots never boasted any Hall of Fame MVP caliber running backs in the Bill Belichick-Tom Brady era. With the Patriot way, basically any running back could come in and succeed. And when they priced themselves out of Foxborough, Belichick would easily find another replacement to rush for 1,000 plus yards. But as scary as the Patriots of the early 2000s were, just think how much scarier they could have been if they had come away with LaDainian Tomlinson. And they almost did, via Henry McKenna of Patriots Wire. Tomlinson detailed a story about how close the Patriots were to getting him. LT said after college, he met with Belichick and then offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss. The latter apparently told Tomlinson they would take him if he was available at number 6. Well, the Chargers wound up taking Tomlinson with the 5th selection, and New England came away with a future franchise cornerstone and defensive tackle Richard Seymour. During their first dynasty run, the Patriots never had a grade A superstar offensive weapon to complement Tom Brady. Just imagine if they had LT. That'd be crazy. So thank you, Chargers. You saved people from even more domination and stuff. If they did, though, you can bet they definitely would have had more Super Bowls. Like a lot. Number 6, Randy Moss to the Cowboys. Moss could have been a top 5 or 10 pick in the '98 NFL Draft, but he had too many previous run-ins with the law that scared teams off. But the Cowboys, Moss's favorite childhood team, looked poised to select him anyway. Moss nervously watched in anticipation, hoping Dallas would call his name. But according to multiple reports, Jones was trying to fix the image and reputation of the Cowboys. Star wideout Michael Irvin had plenty of off-the-field incidents that apparently forced Jones into this direction. So Jones decided to pass on Moss, who was disappointed and bitter about it. According to Moss, Deion Sanders had already told him beforehand that the Cowboys would take him with the 8th overall selection. But the Cowboys wound up selecting defensive end Greg Ellis out of North Carolina instead, and their loss was the Minnesota Vikings gain. Many took Moss with the 21st selection, and he got oh-so-sweet revenge in a 98 Thanksgiving road game in Dallas. That day, he torched the Cowboys with 3 touchdowns and 163 yards on just 3 receptions. Moss became by far the second most dominant wideout in history after Jerry Rice. Over 2 decades later, the Cowboys have been kicking themselves for not taking him. Just gotta take a chance. That's all. Perhaps he would have helped their 90s dynasty keep going. Number 5, Aaron Rodgers to the 49ers. The 49ers selected Alex Smith with the 1st overall selection in 2005, and that turned out to be quite the mistake. They only got 1.5 good seasons out of Smith before he lost the starting job to Colin Kaepernick in 2012. Of course, San Fran wasn't the only team to make a mistake at the 05 draft. Aaron Rodgers, who turned out to be the best player from this class, somehow slipped down to the Green Bay Packers in the 24th spot, and they already had a top-tier quarterback in Brett Favre. Well, turns out the 49ers actually kept a close eye on Rodgers. Apparently, new head coach Mike Nolan thought Rodgers was too cocky and didn't think they'd be a good fit together. He considered Smith the safe pick, calling him a very good person. Although he's unsure if it's true, Rodgers said he heard the 49ers settled on Smith when they saw him opening a car door for his mother. Maybe Rodgers was cocky at the time, but Deion Sanders, Brett Favre, and Randy Moss were a couple of other cocky players who carved out special careers. It's a silly reason to pass on somebody. And if there's any consideration for the 49ers, they defeated Rodgers' Packers in the 2012, 13, and 2019 postseasons. But the Packers owe the 49ers for choosing nice guy Alex Smith over 2-time MVP Aaron Rodgers. Oh, and Aaron Rodgers also won a Super Bowl, so... Number 4, Brett Favre to the Jets. The New York Jets traded for Favre in 2008, when he was pretty much past his prime. Imagine if they had landed him 17 years earlier, when the opportunity was right there for the taking. Hall of Fame executive Ron Wolf worked for the Jets as their personal director in 1990 and 91. During an interview with ESPN, before his Hall of Fame induction in 2015, Wolf reflected on the time where he almost took Favre at the 1991 draft. Wolf and then Jets GM Dick Steinberg loved what they saw in Favre during his time in college. Wolf even said that Favre was the best player in the 91 draft class. Just one minor problem. New York didn't have a first-round pick that year, but somehow, in some way, Favre went unselected in the first round. According to Wolf, the Jets had a deal lined up with the Cardinals, who held the 32nd pick, but Arizona backed out and took Mike Jones with that selection. The Atlanta Falcons came away with Favre at number 33, and the Jets settled on Louisville quarterback Browning Nagel at number 34. In case it makes the Jets feel any better, the Falcons made the awful decision of trading Favre to the Green Bay Packers in 1992. Wolf had come aboard as the new GM of the Pack in 1991, so he got the man he wanted after all. And as we mentioned earlier, the Jets eventually got the 3-time MVP and Super Bowl 31 winning quarterback in a 2008 trade with the Packers. But again, they were 17 years too late. Number 3, Jerry Rice to the Cowboys. The Cowboys and 49ers both wanted Jerry Rice ahead of the 1985 draft, but America's team had the advantage. They were picking earlier than San Fran at 17th overall, and Bill Walsh and company had to trade up to get Rice. Gil Brandt, who served as the Cowboys Vice President of Player Personnel, thought the world of Rice. Other teams weren't as high in the future Hall of Famer, so Dallas felt confident that they would get him. But Walsh had Michael Lombardi compile some film packages on him. The 49ers wanted Rice just as badly as Dallas now. But how would San Fran move up from the final selection around 1 to 16th overall? Luckily, the Patriots were willing to do business. They traded the 16th pick to the 49ers, receiving multiple picks, but none of the guys they used those picks on turned out to be Jerry Rice-like. Rice became the hands-down most dominant receiver ever, and he was instrumental in helping the 49ers win 3 more Super Bowl championships. The Cowboys, of course, went on to form their own dynasty with 3 championships in the 90s. But what if they had drafted Rice? Maybe there's no San Fran dynasty, and perhaps Dallas would have won more Super Bowls on their own. Of course, drafting Rice would have probably prevented the Cowboys from being terrible enough to the point where they would nab Troy Aikman 1st overall in 1989. So who knows how different NFL history would have been if Rice went to the Cowboys. Number 2, Joe Montana to the Bears. To be fair to the Chicago Bears, they weren't the only team that passed on Joe Cool. Everybody did numerous times. And he finally went to the 49ers in the 3rd round, 82nd overall in 1979. Bill Toppin, who worked as a scout for the Bears, told his wife that they would get Joe Montana if he was available in round 3. But when it was Chicago's turn to pick in the 3rd round, they took Georgia running back Willie McClendon with the 66th selection. What in the world happened to those plans to take Montana? At the time, it made little sense for the Bears to take the Notre Dame quarterback. The late Jim Finks, who served as Chicago's GM at the time, already liked the team's quarterback situation. Vince Evans and Mike Phipps all looked like capable starters at the time. They were stunned and disappointed after Chicago passed on Montana. And though the Bears won Super Bowl 20 on the basis of the very best defense of all time, they could have become a dynasty with Montana, who led the 49ers to 4 Super Bowl championships. And last time we checked, 4 Super Bowls is better than 1. Number 1. Tom Brady to the Jets. Patriots fans better hope that time travel never becomes a reality, because every other NFL team would love to go back to the 2000 draft. No way they would let Tom Brady slip to the Patriots in the 199th spot. 199 people and you guys didn't choose him. Why? Why? The GOAT, as well as the greatest draft steal in any sport ever, was passed on numerous times by all 31 teams. That makes me feel a little better. But no team suffered more by not picking Tom Brady than the Jets. Because if he landed there, they could have been the ones to dominate the AFC East for 2 decades, rather than getting dominated every year by the Pats. And unlike practically every other team, the Jets were actually close to selecting Tom. Now, the Jets had already taken a quarterback in Chad Pennington with the number 18 selection, but according to a 2014 story from the New York Daily News, Jet scout Jesse Kai mentioned Brady's name to GM Bill Parcells in the draft room. He thought highly of Brady compared to pretty much everybody else in the world at the time, but Parcells ignored his genius advice.
I'm not a smart man.
And he used the team's 6th round selection on Tony Scott. On the bright side, there's no bright side. The Jets had a handful of home runs in the draft. Pennington had some good years there, while Sean Ellis, I don't know his name, check it, and John Abraham emerged as Pro Bowlers on their stingy defense. Still, the decision to pass on Brady hurt the Jets dearly. No Super Bowls, except for the one they made in the 3rd Super Bowl ever. Unlike the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills, New York actually had some good years in the Brady-Belichick era. If TB12 had gone to the Jets, or if he had simply never gone to New England, maybe we'd be talking about the 21st century New York Jets dynasty instead. Do you know any other major draft selections that almost happened? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We're on everything. Go find us. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes 1 click down below. And subscribe to TPS. We post videos every day. Every day's new video, subscribe. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo.